Ekonene. So kama kuna story ilibaki imedominate Monday, of course ilikuwa story za Albert Ojwang. Albert Ojwang ni yule msee alibaki amededishwa in police custody this past weekend. So alikuwa abducted, that's the term I'm going to use, from Migori, kabaki ameletwa hizi masaidi za Nairobi, and then on Sunday night yani Saturday night akabaki amededi, then by Sunday alikuwa kwa mortuary. And of course gava ina try ku retrace steps zao na kutry tuambia vile hakukuwa na foul play. So sasa hivi wamekama up na stories as sijui IPOA take over this, whatever ime happen. But sasa nilikuwa nataka tu cheki kitu moja. Like kulikuwa na hii call ile Albert alihave na beste yake, na ilikuwa a little bit disturbing. Najua ni kama au sema ni kama mtu agana hiyo premonition. I don't know how true that is, but you could feel the fact that he felt some type of way mpaka he had to ask if it was safe. So this is one of those really sad calls. Wacha tusikie part of it.
Sielewi man.
Ni tagu ulifanya ama?
Sielewi hata hajanieleza man.
Wamekwambia unapeleka police station gani?
Central Police.
Hapa nje. Central Police.
Yeah.
Sawa, na haujakunyang'anya phone right? Haujakunyang'anya simu? Wamekunyang'anya simu?
Ile kwa nafikisha ndio wamenirudishia sasa niongee.
Wanadai aje, wanasema aje?
Sasa nifike huko.
Ufike Nairobi kwanza.
Turudi main twende.
Hello?
Yeah.
Wanasema tufike Nairobi kwanza.
So by hii part unza cheki ile design anasema hakuwa anajua like what the cops wanted, but walikuwa anasema that they are going to tell him like what he's been charged with wakishafika Nairobi. And so kuna hii part, alafu at the end of this conversation uko mwisho, it's the part where he was talking about asking his friend like herself safe. And I don't know kwani alikuwa anauliza hii swali because it was like one of those really sad stories, especially in hindsight after kujua like what happened to him. This question becomes even more powerful. So wacha tusikie vile hii conversation back imeend.
Nishaikoa inda, so mambo itakuwa fiti. Kutakuwa na challenges hapa na pale, lakini mambo itakuwa fiti. Usitensive tu, nakwambia. Kutakuwa na challenges hapa na pale, lakini mambo itakuwa fiti. Nishaikoa inda, so mambo itakuwa poa. Na Inda is one of the worst police stations in Nairobi. So
like nitakuwa safe hapo ndani.
Nini?
Will I be safe?
Light?
Safe.
Yeah. Rumande ni safe.
Acheki hapo. So hapo mwisho alikuwa anauliza will I be safe, and basically inasemekana like is one of the last times that he was heard akiwa alive. And then on Monday kulikuwa na the press conferences za gava, and hizi ni zile tunasemaga za kusafisha rada. And like if you look at the background, one of the things that you see ni unabaki umeona umse alikuwa charged with ilikuwa nini ile kuignore court orders, alikuwa hapo nyuma. Umse of course news run so fast hapa Kenya mpaka kuna vile tayari tushasahau like that guy, but I mean that guy. So huyu IG alibaki ameitisha hii press conference, and what I found disturbing about this press conference was the fact that the guy who's been adversely mentioned kwa hii story, the guy who inasemekana Albert alishikwa juu ya kumoffend, the guy was hapo behind. And if you are going to have a good investigation, then the person who was involved in the arrests should not be anywhere next to at least the press conference, but this guy was there. And let's listen to part of the press conference.
Let me put it this way. The reasons as to why the late Ojwang was arrested, together with a few others, is because there was a complaint that had been launched by the DIG KPS about his name being tarnished. So it is on that basis that investigations were actually being carried out, because he also have got a right to be protected by the same law.
So kona shindo mse alikuwa amecomplain ni mse on your left, karao iko on your left wana move kichwa. Inasemekana yeye ndio DIG Lagat. Of course nikisema hivi pia na isemekana nimeingiza njeve cause inakaa mse si mtu anajua wakumess na yeye. So yeye ndio inasemekana that nani alikuwa amepost juu yake. Alafu after kupost juu yake. So the guy might be hakuwa expect Ojwang aumie, so we can give him that benefit of doubt, but he should not be at this press conference. Because he should not also be involved in the investigations, because how can you be involved in an investigation that might end up implicating you in a negative way? You know, because if we are starting this investigation, we have to start it from the point of we don't know who's innocent and we don't know who's guilty. So lazima tuanze from a very clean slate, and I don't think that this guy being there was a clean slate, and even the look on his face was not also a good look, najua, but wacha tusikize part of it still.
No. We have not suspended them. We have interdicted to allow for speedy investigation to ensure that there is no interference whatsoever with these investigations. That is basically the reason why we have interdicted them, and it is provided for in the regulations. Yes.
Do you expect some action like maybe head swelling, maybe Barranca, just pointing out that one DIG?
So what's going to happen? Once they are interdicted, we allow the investigation to continue, and then at the end of the day, we are going to get a way forward from IPOA. If any one of them is found to have committed an offence, then so be it. The law will deal with it. Yes, thank you very much.
So of course, so as wamekuwa interdicted, I had to even go and look at the meaning of interdiction. So interdiction is basically step aside, as in the difference between interdiction and suspension is so small, because wacha tuangalie the meaning of interdiction. And one of the people who's jumped on this bandwagon of telling us the way this is such a great move, ni umadha anaitwa Pasaris. I don't know what Pasaris is trying to gain, but yes, the meaning of interdiction: the action of prohibiting or forbidding something, the action of intercepting and preventing the movement of a prohibited commodity or person. So pia kwa military, the action of impeding an enemy force, especially by bombing lines of communication or supply. So I think what has happened in this case is want to try to stop us from communicating. But how can they be stopped from communicating if the guy who allegedly they were acting on his complaint is still involved in the investigation? So I don't know. Come to these stories za Kenya, kuna time inakuwaga too depressing kuzicheki, because hakunaga like any form of independent institutions. Every institution is intertwined with the other, and the guy at the top is always the guy controlling everything. So as I was saying, Esther Passaris aliamua kureact na kabaki ameandika, I commend Inspector General Japhet Koome for acting swiftly by suspending the OCS, duty officer, and all other officers who are on duty during the tragic death of Albert Ojwang at Central Police Station. This is a necessary first step, but it must be followed by a thorough, transparent, and independent investigation led by IPOA. The family and the public deserves answers, a full postmortem, access to CCTV footage if available, and a detailed report on how and why Albert was detained must be made public. Justice delayed is justice denied. Let this be a case. Let this case be a turning point in how we protect the rights and dignity of every Kenyan, especially in state custody. I don't think this is going to be a turning point, because this has been happening for a very long time and it's just been ignored. And the best thing about social media, and this is the reason why we keep fighting about social media, is we are able to amplify these stories. And even like one of the things that we saw from social media was the fact that wasol kona protest. Wasol enda kwa streets protest for this guy, and you can see the fact that it was not the executive being targeted. They actually let the protests happen. If it's the executive, then it's a whole other level. So I don't know for how long watakubali wasiwabaki wame protest, but I have to actually say that I was surprised that on Monday they restrained themselves vile wasoli enda next to Central Police Station, and umsali baki amedidi hapo. And his story, of course, now we have to look at IPOA, and IPOA and EACC, it's just the same. It's just of course kuna besti yangu, if I have to give a story, kuna besti yangu ashainiambia vitu zake zishaichukuliwagwa na makarao, alafu he ended up reporting to IPOA, and IPOA vile waliamua ku-investigate your story, walingiaga kwa ofisi makarao wakahepa. So the cops actually fear IPOA, and they fear what IPOA stands for. But does IPOA actually do anything? No. Because if they were handling every case seriously, hizi stories za makarao kuingia kwa streets na kutupiga risasi hazingekuwa as much. But the fact that they know IPOA ni 50-50 might not. So why should I worry? Wacha niingie pale, nibaki nime misbehave, alafu hopefully IPOA will end up ignoring my situation. So we have that Nini. So IPOA wali release a statement. This was on Monday. Ilikuwa on Sunday 8th June, and pursuant to section blah 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 cap 86 of the laws of Kenya, which mandates the authority to investigate the deaths, Nini has launched investigations into the death of Albert Ojwang. He had been booked at the Central Police Station in Nairobi County on Saturday 7th June. As part of the investigation, the authority has already visited and documented the scene, established contact with the family, and at present, officers deployed at the city morgue where a postmortem is scheduled to take place today, Monday 9th June 2025. Moreover, 5 police officers from the DCI have been interviewed by IPOA and their statements recorded. The findings therefore shall inform the authorities' further communication to the public on the progress of the investigation and recommendation to relevant state agencies, as in particular the Director of Public Prosecutions, in the event criminal culpability is established. IPOA remains committed to conducting investigations that are independent, impartial, free and fair from influence. So on paper this sounds like a very good idea, but is anything going to happen? Because we have to ask ourselves, kuanzia zile protests za last year, I remember umse moja ule inasemekana aliangusha Rex Masai, umse had even the guts to say that he was not at the protests. So kuna kuwaga na hii nonsense will happen kwa hii country, alafu pia when the suspects are going there, they are hiding their faces, and these are like kuna kuwa na watu wana hide faces zao, but some of these public officials, we need to know how they look. And ni kama juzi nilikuwa na watch story fulani, shindaga nikisema I love this show, inaitangwa Murder Tapes ya Brian Obuya. Kuna ukarao alidedishaga madem juu walikata asiwakatie. So huyu fala ilichukua gatuni ni alafu ikaenda kwa reception, walikuwa wamejificha, alafu ikawa jaza tu na nini na risasi. Hicho kifala bado kiko free on bond. Wase walikiona, wase wengi sana walicheki fala, a lot of eyewitnesses, and what ended up happening, this guy is free and on bond. Uni mse tayari ashaonyesha that he has zero regard for human life, bado yuko free. Our justice system inakuwaga really messed up. So will there be justice for Ojwang? I don't know. I feel like this is just another story. Kitu ingine itaenda up imehappen. Wase wamesema saizi ni days of rage, so 9th was the first day, and people want to keep doing this till 25th. Na tusahau 25th ni public holiday. Unajua hivyo? 25th ni public holiday. Just make sure mtu wako amerest hiyo siku. That's a form of protest in its own way. Let watu hiyo wakae home. Kama we mwenyewe kazi yako hiyo siku unaweza funga shop one day na ita kuhurt. Of course, if it's going to hurt you, of course don't close it. But kama one day of not working will not hurt you, make sure umefunga, especially kwa kuna hizi shops zinakuwa katikati ya tao zile zinaonekana ngazi kiwa open. Make sure hiyo siku imefungwa. Kama unaweza funga, that is. And that would be one way ya kuonyesha igava that we are not happy and we've not forgotten, because I see the arrogance, and the arrogance is there suggesting that we've forgotten. The arrogance is there suggesting that we still feel like to walikuwa criminals, and that really like messes with my mind. And I hope that hii siku itabaki imekuwa etched in our mind. So uko US na unatry kutuma do Kenya, baki umetumia Lemfi. Na reason ya kutumia Lemfi ni Lemfi inakupatia the highest exchange rates. Alafu apart from that, juu ya Lemfi unabaki umetuma $8,000 in one day. Ama unaweza tuma $16,000 in one week. Ama unaweza tuma $32,000 in one month. Hiyo ni up to 4 million shillings in one month. Na ni simple kabisa. Lemfi app unaweza baki umepata kwa App Store, na pia unaweza ipata kwa Google Play. Another reason ya kusign up kwa Lemfi ni wewe ni Nini fan. Na umekuwa ukishindwa nizaji support iko nini? Niza support aje asi. Kuna vile saizi jo mfuko ni mbaya. Lakini I need kutumia mother dose, so siwezi tumia iko nini chochote. Kuna a very easy way ili unaweza kill two birds with one stone. Support your family na pia support iko nini. Na unafanyaje hivyo? Unabaki umesign up to Lemfi using our QR code. Baki umescan QR code. Kama si hivyo, ubaki umetumia the link ile tumeseti kwa description. Na usisahau the first $100 ile utatuma, wewe mwenyewe utapata $20 cashback. Alafu sisi juu tumekurefer, pia sisi tutapata $20. Unacheki, utakuwa umesupport iko nene, ndio tuendelee kukupatia the conversations that you like. Na pia kitu inabamba kabisa ni saizi kuna vile Lemfi ina support both M-Pesa paybill numbers na till numbers. Inamaanisha unabaki umelipia madhako internet ukiwa majuu, unaweza mlipia stima bado ukiwa majuu. Unaweza make sure that madhako iko both connected na pia keja yake iko lit up. Na hiyo ni courtesy of Lemfi. Lemfi International Payments for Everyone. Iko nene. So, kuna story fulani nikitoka kwa hii story za Ojwang. Kuna story wasame kwa kinitag wakiniambia ni watch juu yake, na ni juu ya huyu MP wa Nyakach anaitwa Adama. So Adama nishai mention ni story yake, ni mse fulani nasemekana kuna time waswali try I think walikuwa wameenda kwake and eventually wakaenda kwa kidedisha madhake. So it was one of these really sad stories. And but another thing that happens is he's an MP in a Luo Nyanza area. And kitu agafani from the outside looking in, ukiangalia Luo Nyanza alafu angalia mseka Raila msena kuaga everywhere akibonga juu ya democracy this and democracy that. Luo Nyanza pia inakuaga like one of the most dangerous areas to run for an MP ama run for an MCA, run for a governor, because inakuaga basically a life and death situation. So with that in mind, it was very interesting kuona that Trevor Ombija is the guy who's trying to replace Adama. Because I'll be honest, mimi msana toka Masaiza Nyanza, as in Nyakach to be specific, because Trevor Ombija is trying to be the next Nyakach Nini MP, and it was interesting hearing him say this. So wacha tusikize Trevor Ombija alafu tuone who Trevor Ombija alafu Mwafreeka who would make a better MP. Niko sure mtasema Trevor because mnaheshimu suti kushinda ideas. But okay, let me not rain on his parade. Wacha tumsikize.
Asiguru gimoro achiel kende. Ka chieng' moro miya telo, school fees mar day schools probedo selling $1,000 per term.
So kama u understand hii lugha, anasema that if akipatiwa telo ni kiti ama the leadership, then school fees za day schools zitakuwa 1,000 shillings only. So I'm guessing he means high schools by that. And okay, so I guess yeye pia anataka kuicheza through the same way of bursaries and vitu kama hizo, which is I guess the way to do it. I don't agree with it. I feel like MPs should be lawmakers. They should be concentrating on coming up with laws that help to make Kenya an easier place to do business in. Unacheki kama hiyo ujinga imehappen saa hizi ile tunasikia sasa, magari zinaenda kuwa expensive, and this is courtesy of taxes. It's the MPs who are supposed to cushion us from such stuff. Najua make sure that cars are affordable, because don't forget there's one thing that a lot of Kenyans are understanding, is that the prices that we buy 8-year-old cars nakuaga the price for brand new cars, especially if you come to these higher end cars. Hizi za huku chini unapataga, yes, if it's brand new you'd still pay a little bit more. So tukibonga juu ya the Toyota, hizi akina Toyota what? Corollas and the Mazda Demios. Yes, if you buy them brand new, although sasa saa hizi bei ya second hand na brand new itakuwa super close, but ikikam to vitu kama Benz hivi, like ikikam to vitu kama kina Range Rover, unapataga a lot of people driving 80-year-old Range Rovers can drive brand new ones, and the reason behind that is the exorbitant taxes. And I always wonder, if people can buy all these cars at the price of new ones, why not have the assembly plants hapa, and then the government can still get its taxes? Of course kutakuwa na the reasoning of hizi makayad zitapoteza pesa, but no, the kayads can be given a period where we're like, hey, from now to hivi, by this time you're going to change our laws, so you need to make sure you've gotten rid of all these cars, because hakuna haja ya Kenya kuwa the dumping ground for like Japan, nacheki, ama the UK. We are the dumping ground. But still, kwa Trevor Mbija's Nini, I wish him the best of luck. I hope hata learn the hard way that Nyanza politics, especially Luo Nyanza politics, are not played, they are not based on ideas, they are based on bullshit, and that's why wase kama umsali dedi anaitwa nani, Ongondowere, walienda po kifika the level that they reached. Saizi unacheketa hapo Ongondowere mwenyewe, there's a whole other story that his son ndiye anafaa kuwa the heir to the throne. You see, it's like a throne. And this is despite all the complaints and all the families complaining that when this guy was there, like they went through hell. And this is what like ODM represents squeezy. It just represents impunity. But I guess it's always represented impunity because when you think about the violence that's meted out on supporters, it come to stories like stories are nominations na vitu kama hizo, where there's this level of violence that's normally not experienced in other places. It becomes super tricky. But yes, yeah, so kuna hiyo. So Trevor Mbija amerusha hati yake hapo. Hopefully if he ends up getting, I'd expect him to campaign using the normal stuff of school fees and blah blah blah. But when you enter there, try and be a legislator. Try and be someone who worries about laws. And vitu kama social media, all these need to be thrown out. These bullshit laws that these people are coming up with, all this censorship nonsense needs to end. So that would be what I'd expect from him. But is that what's going to happen? I don't know. These people, you never know. Wataingia pale. There's a lot of money to be made from CDF and all this nonsense. So sometimes MPs don't want to be lawmakers. They want to control CDF, like what's happening right now. And it's going to take other people. And that's why I'm hoping a Trevor Mbija can be the sort of person who's hanged out with at least msekama nani long enough. Anaitwa Sifuna. Man, Sifuna at least amemwonyesha a few things that lawmakers should do. Because Sifuna naonaga, he tries, unajua. Ile like I have to, considering how hostile ODM is right now, for him to stick to his guns, it's something that's commendable. And yeah, for Trevor, sikuwa najua yeni Nyakach. And best of luck in your Nyakach quest. But hopefully you understand that it's about lawmaking. And hopefully you understand that lawmakers can stop things like what happened to Albert. Yes, this past weekend. These are things that lawmakers can stop. You can put a stop to this. You can be like, you know what, enough is enough. I think that lawmakers can put a stop to. Of course, these stories are road accidents. Let's come up with better laws, like there's so much that lawmakers can do apart from building roads and building schools and giving people bursaries. These are things that if we empower the national government and education is free, then there won't be need for bursaries. And check, very simple mathematics, because the pesa nyupatiwa mpatiane bursaries, why not just give people free education? But that's a whole other debate for another day. But yeah, nikimalizia, of course, justice for Albert Ojwang, and yeah, hopefully atapata justice. And still, nikikuremind, limited tickets available. Iko Nini Father's Day barbecue happening at Evergreen Park, iko Kiambu Road. Gets open at 1 p.m. And Nini, kuna gate ya Evergreen where you pay 500 shillings. Alafu kutakuwa na gate ya Iko Nini ile utalipa 1,000. So you're spending 1,500 shillings, but the 1,000 shillings guarantee you like limitless amount of meat. Najua we have very limited tickets. Tunauza tickets 15 peke yake, ndio mbuzi zibaki zimetosha. So make sure grab tiko yako haraka haraka, alafu tubaki tumepatana. Na tunapatana, when is this? Yes, 15th. This is this Sunday. So make sure tumepatana kwa the Iko Nini Father's Day barbecue. Iko Nini.